People who had stalkers. When did you first realize you were being stalked? When I would come home and my blinds were turned in such a way that someone outside could see in, even though I always put them back, the next day they would be turned. Then there was that time I found him hiding in my shower. Needless to say, there was some restraining order action and a stay in jail. I was playing with a girl who almost became my stepsister. We shared a bedroom and she wanted to play with Barbies. I had this really weird feeling and I looked up, and at the window, the light in the room made it so I could only see our reflections. I decided to go up to the window and cup my hands to see. To my shock, there was a car across the street and inside was a man with a camera. I could tell he had a camera because he was leaning the giant lens on the door of the car. What was really eerie is he didn't react or anything when it was clear I noticed him. He just kept presumably snapping away. I ran and told my biological mom that there was some guy taking pictures through our window. My bio mom never believed me when bad stuff happened, but she humored me by peeking out of the curtains. I watched the surprise register in her face, which quickly turned to anger. She grabbed our most loyal and scary looking dog and went outside. The guy starts putting away the camera and then bio mom lets the dog off of her leash. By the time the guy started to speed away, our dog was about a foot from his door. After that, the man started showing up exclusively when my bio mom and her boyfriend weren't home. I was about 12 when this was going on, and it was terrifying. My mother dated a man who turned out to be abusive. Once she ended this, he began to stalk us. In the beginning I didn't have a license. Later on, when I did, he started stalking both of us. Some clues we found were seeing odd cars driving slowly in the neighborhood. This isn't a sign by itself, but when combined with the same cars being seen nearby at other times, we figured it out. He knew people who owned new and used car dealerships. We started hearing from friends about things we had done that no one would really know about. Like my mom may have visited a relative, or I went to a party with friends. Somehow a neighbor or other person asked how that was. We found out he was talking to these people as friends without them knowing what he was up to, so they were volunteering information in a harmless way. Our trash started being disturbed. Found out he was going through it and taking out things like billing statements, letters, and so on. This was before privacy and identity theft were an issue. In the single worst example, he had shown a letter I had written to a prospective girlfriend to a friend of his. I threw out my drafts and accidentally left it there. I just happened to see it when I was there, and the mutual friend told me that she thought the guy had it to proofread it for me. Humiliating. I noticed once I had my license I was being followed when I was out on country roads and so on. Even through college he did it on occasion when people in my hometown knew when I had gone dancing or whatever at clubs. So, all in all, just be vigilant. If you ever feel someone is following you, be it a stalker or a road rage person, do not go home. Go to a well-lit area or a manned police station. Shred everything you throw away. If there's anything personal on it, get a good crosscut shredder that cuts into tiny pieces. And these days, call the police. They'll take it more seriously than they did in the past. When I got a text from a number one didn't recognize telling me to look outside. I lived in a first floor apartment and there were flowers and chocolates on my balcony. Motherfucker worked for it and was in a position that he had access to the employee records, so he got my cell number and address out of it. What was even crazier was I told my upstairs neighbor to keep an eye out for him, and she said he'd stalked her too. Apparently, this guy just had a reputation for stalking every new girl in town. It was a smallish/medium-sized town. It escalated over the course of the year, but was quite frankly more absurd than terrifying, because the stuff he did was just so bizarre. Finally had to get a restraining order against him. That is ridiculous. It reminds me of a coworker I had a few years ago. These two girls started working at my company at the same time. They were friends and had applied together. After the first few weeks, I had realized that one of them had some sort of mental problem. She would say very odd, random things to everyone and freak out over nothing. She once exploded on me for not fixing a machine that kept having problems, claiming that I didn't do anything all day and just sat at the computer. So a few months go by and she waves at me to go help her with something. When I get there, He starts telling me how I still have a chance to be with her friend and what kind of flowers she likes. I was speechless. I'd never even spoken to the other girl. She then went on to say that I should never cross my arms or put my hands in my pockets around her. I said okay and walked back to my desk, not understanding what had just happened. Over the next few weeks, things just kept escalating. She started leaving notes at my desk with a friend's phone number, trying to set me up on dates with her, trying to get me to travel to Vegas with them, etc. I would just nod and try to make her go away as fast as possible whenever she talked to me. Other coworkers didn't believe what I was telling them about this girl. They started teasing me and were having a great time listening to my stories. Then one day, they experienced one of her meltdowns when we were all at our desks at the same time. She started yelling that the friend and I needed to resolve our differences because she was taking it out on her car, whatever that meant. She caught me in a bad mood and I snapped right back at her. I told her that if she had a problem, she could take it up with management, so she did. She went to the managers and told them the entire fantasy she'd been bothering me with. It didn't take long for them to realize that this girl was nuts. Keep in mind, I never spoke a word to the other girl. I suspect what happened is that the friend may have said she thought I was attractive once, and the other one fabricated an entire story in her head. They both left a short time after that last incident, but it wasn't the end of the craziness. Months later, I found out from someone else that she'd been lying to other people about me. She had claimed that I got the friend pregnant with triplets and that she had miscarried. I'm sure there are other things that she said about me that I still haven't heard about. When he tried to sneak onto my bus, we were both in high school and he was mentally disabled and much bigger than me. He was convinced I was his girlfriend and I had severe social anxiety and didn't know how to handle the situation. He'd always talk to me in the hallways, and before I got on the bus, I generally tried to be nice, but not stay near him for too long. He asked to come to my house, but I lied and said my parents wouldn't like me inviting a boy over. He then tried to get on my bus, but the bus driver wouldn't let him. This happened a few times until the bus driver told a teacher, and then someone had to watch him while we waited for the bus. I thought that'd be the end of it, but he only got more obsessed with me after that. He memorized my schedule and would follow me in the hallway asking me to meet him somewhere outside of school. He was really scaring me, but I didn't think he knew what he was doing. I'd text my best friend to come help me. He was honestly my hero at the time. It pretty much came to a head after my grade 11 finals. I was done before my friends and was waiting outside the classroom alone when he found me. He grabbed me and sat on the floor with me in his lap. I was terrified, but I didn't know what to do. He asked me to kiss him, but I said no. He kissed me anyway. I started to cry, and then a teacher found us. They punished him, but I begged them not to tell my parents. I just wanted to forget it ever happened. For unrelated reasons, I went to a different school for grade 12, and I heard he raped a girl that looked just like me. I've always felt really guilty. I should have said something or done something to stop him. I'm still nervous around men, especially ones that look like him. This guy I met in a nightclub kept asking me where I live. It was a semi-small town, so I kinda gave vague directions like by the school. I just met him and did not want to give my physical address. A week later, I found flowers in my car with no note. The next day, found candy, again with no note. At the end of the week, I found a note from the guy nightclub. He wrote that he found me and drove around all night till he's seen my car. He went on saying that he has been watching me and knows what I like and did his gifts please me. He told me that he has been watching me go here and there. It started out like he was a romantic, but it turned creeping. At night, I started locking my car door. He would leave notes under my wiper blades. His notes were becoming more and more crazy. He was leaving a dead roses or trash on my car. One good thing is that he did not go up to my door, but at the time my brother was living there and father was home a lot. This took place in 1982, so had no cameras, and the cops did not take this serious since he did not cause any bodily harm. The last thing he left on my car was a wig styrofoam head painted up with my hair and eye color on it with make on it as well, and a knife sticking in the head with fake blood running down it. The guy was a nut job. when I had to kick out one of my bar regulars after he admits he was in love with me and made sexual comments towards me. I'm in my mid-20s and he is in his mid-50s. He used to come in every other day and bring me flowers and gifts. One day after he had a couple beers he made a gross sexual comment towards me. I immediately grabbed my manager, but by the time we both came back to the bar he was gone. The next day flowers and an "I'm sorry" card showed up at the restaurant. The day after that he showed up like nothing was wrong, and I had to pull him outside and tell him to take a break from coming in for a while. After this he just lost it. 3 dozen flowers sent to the restaurant. Posts on Facebook saying that he will never love anyone again. Sending me crazy messages on Facebook telling me the same thing. Messaging my close friends. Leaving gift cards and cash. More flowers. Candles. More cash. He called one of the other regulars saying he was going to kill himself. This regular called the restaurant demanding to speak with me and begging for my number. I wasn't there that day and my manager refused to give out my number. Posting reviews on Yelp, Facebook, and Google about the restaurant and getting kicked out. The last thing I received from Jim was one white rose and a card that just said thank you on Valentine's Day. There is a similar restaurant right down the street that he started to frequent after I kicked him out. Little did he know that I was friends with the bartenders over there. He would go into the restaurant and tell stories about getting kicked out and how a woman broke his heart, and then started bringing flowers to that restaurant. Going to that restaurant every other night until they kicked him out for more sexual comments. I guess old habits never die. Please like and subscribe for more edit videos.